she just came up and said, "What can I get you for dessert?" And he goes, "You know, I'd like a little dish of ice cream." And she goes, "Okay, great." And she turns to me and she goes, "Have you changed your mind? Would you like dessert?" I said, "Yes, I would." The whole entire table caved. The entire table went to dessert. Everybody. And she brought back a dessert for Mike that was a miracle. It was like half dome. It was literally this pile of ice cream like this. Just, Mike joyfully ate the whole thing. Isn't that just Mike though, guys? Isn't that who he was? Just that joyful smile, a beautiful laugh, gorgeous spirit. Boy, we're lucky to have had him. Mike and I were at this banquet. It's kind of a formal banquet, and somehow Mike and I ended up at the table of this guy, at his family's table, who was getting this lifetime award, this honor. And we were super embarrassed to be there. But of course, this guy's got up there and he's giving this very tearful speech, and he looks down at his table and he thanks his whole family, including his wife of like 60 years. And then he looks at Mike and I goes, "I also want to thank Steve and Mike from General Pacific." Mike and I got up and said, "You're welcome, everybody." One of my personal favorites, Mike and I were teaching a software class at the Northwest Meter School. Most of you know Mike's career is all about metering. And we're up there teaching the software class, and our dear friend Rich Daly, in the back of the room there, he got so frustrated with Mike and I horsing around, laughing, joking with each other, that he finally got up in the middle of the class and said, "That's it, I'm tired of the Lenny and Squeaky show, I'm taking over," which he did. Mike was so beloved by the people that he worked with and his customers. I thought Brent said it well. Mike had this special ability to establish trusted relationships very quickly with people, and he had a sincere care for people that endeared himself to them so quickly. Whenever Mike's name comes up in conversation, the person always says the same thing: how wonderful Mike and Margot are, how much Mike cared, how much fun Mike was to talk with, and what a special soul he is. The first time Mike and I went back to Itron together, probably 20 plus years ago, Mike and I were in the support customer service department at Itron, and one of the head folks, she pulled me aside and she said, in this thick southern accent, she goes, "Hey Steve, do you know what we call Mike around here?" And I said, "No." She said, "We call him Mr. Crumberry." They all loved him so much. What really made the difference to me, and many people Mike worked and made friends with, was his ability to be that true, sincere human with that heart of gold, bold, sturdy laugh, and the kindness of intentions in everything he did and every interaction we had. Another common theme for Mike was a great listener. And his ability to be swept up in a story or a complex situation was listening, that he was listening to was truly from his heart. And if the story was funny, well, that laugh, not only infectious, but healing. When me and Rick, Paul, and Mike, when we'd all get together at lunch, literally we almost got kicked out of a restaurant for laughing too loud. And that's not a joke. I mean, we got warned many times. Did that stop us? No. What a bunch of belly-laughing rabble-rousers, rowdy of folks laughing. You know, traveling together creates a fabric for a wonderful relationship. And I am so glad that Margot and Mike and I got to take some long car rides together where we talked about our lives and really got to know each other in an absolute wonderful way. Together, Mike and Margot are spiritual superheroes. Thank you, Margot. I was lucky that Mike and I were workmates. We were lucky enough to have each other's lives woven together. I got to coach his son Jeff, while he got to sit with my son Joe and teach him the separating the thumb trick. We were at football games together, our sons played. I was able to spend just enough time to get to know Melissa and hear the wonderful stories about her singing, especially the 9/11 experience in New York. What a beautiful story that is. Matt, I'm so glad you get to share that. Mike was with me the day my mom died. I cried on her shoulder for 15 minutes straight. Thank you, Mike. In the workplace, most of the time we can find a person to trust about our work life, but rarely can we find that human that we can trust about personal life. Well, Mike was that soul for me, probably most of the people in this room. That's a very special spirit. When I visited Mike in hospice, and it was just he and I in the room, Mike and I were hugging, and he said, "Steve, promise me that I'm going to see you in heaven." And I said, "Yeah, of course, yes, sure, Mike." And he said, "No, I want you to promise me." And I did. And that's a promise I intend to keep. I hope you do too. I'd mentioned that Mike and I had this mutual love for music as a common theme with everybody. And Mike had that beautiful, booming, singing voice. And we sang together too. I mean, you know, I will always remember driving through the gorge on our way to Spokane on a work trip, and Mike literally, to everybody's point, had the music blaring the whole way, as loud as it could possibly be. But guess what? Somehow Mike and I found a way to sing over the volume of the radio. He will be greatly missed by me and him. I know everybody here. I took Mike's car one time, I had to borrow it, and I was driving up to Seattle and I opened up the console to find a CD to play. And I'm looking through all the CDs. Carpenters, Best of Carpenters, Carpenters, New Carpenters, more Carpenters, Carpenters. And I was like, I can't listen to any of this. And I closed the console down, and 5 minutes later I had that open and the Carpenter CD put in there. I had a blast and full blast. I love you, Mike.
Oh, we know there's so many more stories to be shared, and we will give you guys the opportunity to do that out in the lobby as we congregate out there here in just a bit. But I would like to share some stories and some scripture about my uncle Mike. But thank you, Melissa, Kathy, Jason, Pat, Brent, Matt, and Steve for all of your encouraging words. Getting to hear common themes about Mike makes this part of the service such a blessing to come up here and share with you guys this morning. So good morning, family and friends. For those of you I haven't got a chance to meet with, my name is Aaron Nelson, and I'm one of Uncle Mike's nephews. On this same month, 11 years ago, I entered into full-time ministry and became an ordained minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Now, I share that not to say something special about me, or to even give you a fair warning of the length or the tone of this message that I'm about ready to give. But I do want to share that as a statement to the life and the example of my aunt and Uncle Mike that had on me. Here is something that is true. When a husband and wife pursue something higher than themselves, higher than even the pursuit of personal happiness, and especially when that pursuit is the pursuit of God, that example has the capability of providing a tremendous, life-altering effect. However, if that pursuit is something looked at and studied only academically or only admired from a distance, the capability will not be realized. The higher pursuit has to be internalized and put into practice. If you look at someone else's example of Christ-likeness as a spectator and only talk about their example as a commentator, but you never put into practice those very examples and grow in your pursuit of Christ-likeness, you will miss out on that life-altering capability. I'm confident that Mike's life had some kind of impact on each person in this room. I'm confident of this because his example